Alright guys, so moving on to section 1, 2. Today we're going to be talking about rational numbers on a number line. Hopefully a pretty simple lesson. So first of all, let's talk about opposites. What do we mean by opposites? So for example, here I have 0. I have the positive numbers to the right of it, and I have negative numbers to the left of it. So if I asked you to graph 3, you would just simply put a point on 3. Now, if I ask you for an opposite of 3, all that means is that this positive 3 will now become a negative 3. So these are opposites. Okay. In the same way, if I ask you to graph a negative 7, it will be right here, and then if I ask for an opposite of negative 7, you will just simply give me a positive 7. So those are opposites also. The way we write opposites is, well, the negative sign sometimes can be read as opposite. So, for example, if I write negative 7, you can also read it as opposite of positive 7. So if you read it that way, you will not get confused when you see things like this. So negative, negative 2. Well, if you just read it as negative, negative, you'll get confused. But if you read this first negative, whoops, right there, as opposite, so I'm going to say opposite of negative 2. Well, there's my negative 2. Where's its opposite? Right there. It's a positive 2. So, I mean, you can remember 2 negatives make a positive, but you can also read it as opposite of negative 2, and that will get you the same answer. So let's try the opposite of each of these numbers. I'd like you to try this on your own and then just come back and see if you got this right. And you can always rewind it if you are not quite sure what to do yet. So let's see if you got this right. So this is a negative 4.24. I want the opposite of this. So opposite of a negative number is a positive number. So the opposite of negative 4.24 is simply going to be positive 4.24. Then I want an opposite of 6 and 4/5. Well, this is a positive 6 and 4/5. So the opposite of a positive number is a negative number. So I'm going to write negative 6 and 4/5. All right, let's talk about absolute value for a moment. Absolute value is distance from that number to 0. That's all it means. So distance to 0. It doesn't matter if that number is positive or negative. Distance is always positive. So write that down. Distance is always positive. So just like you cannot drive negative 30 miles to Reading or walk negative 5 miles while hiking, distance is always positive. So let's see if I ask you to find, now these are the absolute value symbols, they're just like sticks. If I ask you to find absolute value of 2, there it is. Well, let's see how far away it is from 0. Let's go 1, 2. So it's 2 away from 0, so absolute value of 2 is 2. Now, if I ask you to find absolute value of negative 4, well, there's my negative 4. Let's see how far away from 0 it is. 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's still 4. The distance is always positive. So if I ask you to find absolute value of negative 5, well, you know that it's 5 away from 0, and it has to be positive when it comes out, so it's 5. That's it. So pause this for a moment and see if you can find the absolute value of each of these numbers. Let's see if you got this right. So 7 over negative 13. Now, we didn't talk about this, so let's back up for a moment. So if I have 7 over negative 13, This negative sign can be anywhere. I can write it as negative 7 over 13. I can write it as 7 over negative 13, or I can just have a negative sign right here in the front. So either this or negative 7 over 13 or negative 7 over 13. All of these mean the same thing. So the point is it's negative, regardless where this negative sign is going to be. So absolute value, when it comes out, it's distance, so it has to be positive. So this is simply just 7 over 13. 9 over 10, it's already positive on the inside. The distance to 0 is going to be 9/10. So when it comes out, it's going to stay positive. Let's talk about simplifying expressions with absolute value. Simplifying basically means do the operation that it says to do. So here it has absolute value of negative 1.5 minus absolute value of 0.5. So in this case, when you have absolute value of something, minus or whatever operation this is going to be, absolute value of something else, first you have to take care of absolute values. So let's see, what is absolute value of negative 1.5? Well, remember, when it comes out, it's distance, so it's always positive. So it's 1.5 minus, so this is outside of the absolute value symbols, so it will just come down the way it is. And absolute value of 0.5, again, always positive, so it will come out exactly the way it is. And then you can do 1.5 minus 0.5. If it helps you, do it on the side. Never be afraid to do that. I'd rather you be safe than sorry. So 5 minus 5 is 0. 1 minus 0 is 1. Bring down your points straight down, and you end up with 1. You don't even really need this 0 here. So the answer for this is 1. So let's take a look at this next example. Here you have a negative on the outside and then an operation on the inside of absolute values. So again, what I want to do is take care of the inside of my absolute value symbols. So I'm going to bring this negative down just the way it is and have it just wait for me. And I'm going to do 4.5 plus 1.2. Again, better be safe than sorry, so go to the side and do it if you need to. So 5 plus 2 is 7. Bring your points straight down. 4 plus 1 is 5. So what you end up with inside the absolute value symbols is 5.7. Now, how do I take care of this? Well, this negative sign, if it confuses you, just think opposite. What is the opposite of the absolute value of 5.7? So let's take it out of the absolute value symbols first. So this is positive right here inside. This negative is on the outside. So this is positive. So it's just going to be 5.7. And this negative, if you read it as the opposite of the absolute value, well, it's just going to be the opposite of 5.7, which will make it negative. Or you can just keep on bringing it down. Since it's on the outside, it does not change. So try these on your own for a moment and then push play again and see if you got these right. Okay, so this negative sign is on the outside. So we're going to bring it down and have it wait for us. 12 times 12 is 144. Do it on the side the long way if you need to. And then I need absolute value of 144, which is just 144, always positive. And I'll bring this negative sign down, or I can also say the opposite of 144. Now this one, you have something inside the absolute value symbols divided by something inside of a different set of absolute value symbols. So we need to take care of these absolute values first. So this is a negative that's inside. So what is the distance of negative 189 to 0? Well, it's just 189. Distance cannot be negative. So 189 divided by, and the absolute value of 9 is simply 9. And now, again, go and do it the long way if you need to. So 9 into 18 gives me 2. 2 times 9 is 18, which will give me 0. And I'm going to bring down this 9. 9 into 9 is 1. 1 times 9 is 9. And 9 minus 9 is 0. And there's my answer. So I'm just going to write it down here for good measure. So that's it. Hopefully you got the hang of how to do this. If not, please rewind it, watch it again, and feel free to ask me questions tomorrow in class. See you tomorrow.